Hello everyone and welcome to the Train Sim World October 2024 roadmap. We hope you're all doing well tonight. I'm joined by the wonderful Mr. Matt Pedalston. Hello Matt.
Hey Alex.
And hello everyone. So if you are new here, welcome. This is the Train Sim World roadmap. Usually myself and Matt, we host these things. Matt is our executive producer on trains for Train Sim World, and I am our senior community manager here. And together we talk about all the cool things coming up in the next few months, some of the things that we've already released, as well as other patches and fun bits happening in the community. So welcome. We hope you can hear us. Usually there's audio issues on some of our streams, so we've just got to make sure you can hear us all right. So give us a thumbs up. I'm seeing a lot of people asking a very important question. So Matt, why don't we start off? What color are your trainers?
My trainers are black with pink laces. But I'm not wearing them at the moment. I'm wearing black slippers.
You know, I'll give half a point for everyone that put pink, which was most people. But yes, hello everyone, welcome into the stream. So Matt is really loud compared to Alex. Well, that means I'm really quiet, and I'll do a little bit of adjusting. Thank you both in the chat for commenting there. Aeronautic, good to see you. Hello everyone, and shout out to Harry as well. I know you're watching from the couch as well, so good to see everyone in here. What did you buy at IKEA, Alex? I don't mind my background. I don't know why, but my blurry camera filter that usually works decided not to. But that's just some IKEA stuff back there. So don't worry about that. It was a free chair though. It was lovely. It was dropped off by one of our neighbors in the block, which is fantastic. But we're here to talk about Train Sim World, not IKEA furniture. So the Train Sim World roadmap. Well, firstly, I want to talk a little bit about how this works. Again, we may have a lot of new people joining us tonight who are recently joining into the Train Sim World franchise from the free starter pack or picking up Train Sim World 5 for the first time. So here's what you can expect. We're going to start off and we're going to talk a little bit about what happened in the last month. Train Sim World 5 is pretty much the whole of last month, but we'll talk a little bit about it. We'll talk a little bit about what's coming up in the next month and a little bit beyond. And again, we'll talk a little bit about some things happening in the community that we want to share and announce as well. So let's start off with the obvious. Train Sim World 5 released and we're really excited. We've seen so many new people get into the community, get involved with Train Sim World 5, sharing photos, sharing feedback. And it's been a really busy month, and I think it's been really wonderful to see the community pick up Train Sim 5, play some of the new routes. I think we've seen some fantastic feedback, especially on stuff like conductor mode, which is one of the new core features, as well as utilizing some of the other features that came with Train Sim 5. And of course, the new routes. We've got the West Coast main line, we've got Frankfurt Folder, we've got the San Bernardino line. It's been an absolute blast. Matt, while you're here, how have you found the release so far for Train Sim 5?
It's gone down really good. Seeing lots of really positive feedback. There's obviously been some challenges that people have been experiencing as well. So we've been looking into some of that stuff as well. So we've got the team looking into that. But on the whole, actually seen lots of people really enjoying the content, and all the new content is right there at the top. Numbers 1, 2, and 3 most popular bits of content is everything that's just come out. So yeah, really good to see, and good to see people enjoying I'm particularly glad to see people enjoying the new conductor mode.
Definitely. And Fuse294 in the chat. Shout out to Chris Medlock on the team. Now, I work really closely with Chris because he helped you with the ticket today. I will let Chris know. Chris is absolutely fantastic. He works with our support team as our lead. So I'll let Chris know. That's really wonderful news. But I digress. Let's talk about the new cool stuff. And we have a wonderful new roadmap graphic that I'd like us to talk through. And here it is. So, as you see, this is the Train Sim World 5 October 2024 roadmap. And it looks a little bit differently. We tend to try and shake up the format of these things. But I'm really proud with the asset we've got. So shout out to our creative team, especially Rachel, who worked on this. On the left-hand side, you will see all the new cool things coming in what we think is 0 to 3 months. So I'm gonna caveat that. Generally, we try and pace ourselves. We try and make sure that what we're announcing falls into the timelines that we're happy with and we're happy to talk about. So we've got the 0 to 3 months. So the things that you can really expect to be coming soon, and in there are some new things, but I'll talk through them all. Obviously, the number one slot is the MBTA Commuter. That is a US route coming out very soon, and we'll have much more information to share about this. We got some information tonight, much more information later this week. So you can be excited about that. You can learn about some of the gameplay, some of the services, a little bit about the timetable there as well. So MBTA Commuter are US routes, but also West Coast Mainline, Preston to Carlisle. Now this is a route by Just Trains, and I know a lot of you are very excited about some of the developments they've already been sharing since we announced this back in the Dovetail Direct. Also, newly added to the roadmap as an announcement today from the Alan Thompson Simulation Group is the Manchester Airport Commuter. So again, we've got images, we've got information that we're going to talk through about all of this coming up as well. But Manchester Airport Commuter, we've got the Cargo Line Volume 3 from the Skyhook Games team, which is another one of the Cargo Line gameplay packs, which we're excited to showcase, as well as a GE route, so a German route from the TSG team, but we're not going to share any more information on that. So just know that it's on that list, it's coming soon, but there isn't any more information as well. But that's it on the add-ons. We've got some cool updates as well, again from Skyhook and Rivet, especially around the Levenmouth branch for Fife Circle, as well as the ScotRail Class 158 Rail Link livery. Again, we've got some images for these, so stay tuned, and we'll go through these one at a time. And then obviously post-release improvements. So we do have a major patch coming for Train Sim World 5. This is going to have a huge range of improvements for all of the Train Sim World 5 core content. It's going to have some performance improvements that we're hoping are going to start alleviating some of the performance issues players have been reporting, which is really good. And just a massive range of other fixes raised by the community that we're looking at as well. Now that's the coming soon bit. So stay excited for all of that. Further down the track is essentially everything else that we've previously announced, that we've previously talked about, and kind of just slotting that into where it comes down to. Obviously, there are a couple new announcements on that as well. So we've got the Cargo Line Volume 4. Obviously, Skyhook have been talking about Volume 3 and Volume 4 coming out. And we've got a new UK Loco from Just Trains, which hasn't been announced just yet. So keep an eye out. But Just Trains have got some things for us to share about with West Coast Mainline. But they've got more developments as well. As for the other ones listed there, we're going to talk about some of them soon. Of course, Pfälzische Ludwigsbahn, Cardiff City Network. We've got our first ever Dutch route, our first ever Welsh routes. We've got our first ever Japanese route with the Tadami line. We've also got some of our other third-party partners having content on that too. From Athena Simulation, Simtrack, High Iron as well. So lots of things to look forward to, as well as the Great Western Express Remaster. I know a lot of you are really interested in that, and there's lots of love happening there. So that's kind of the full picture. Again, we're going to go through it now slower at a nice even pace and look at some of the new images that we've revealed today. But as a note, some of the things we're going to be showing today are work in progress. So in development, screenshots are not always going to be fully reflective of the final product, all that jazz. They'll have little stamps at the bottom that say work in progress. So keep that in mind as we go through. And Matt, is there anything else you want to throw in before we properly dive into it?
Oh, let's get on with it. There's some good stuff to show.
Brilliant. Well, we have some exciting news to start off with. And again, if you are joining us for the first time, maybe this is relevant to you. You heard with the release of Train Sim World 5, hopefully you heard about the free starter pack. And this was essentially our way of saying, hey, Train Sim World 5 is awesome, but if you have a massive collection of Train Sim World content and you maybe you looked at some of the Train Sim World 5 content, maybe you were interested, but maybe you're just thinking, well, I'm not going to pick it up right now, I'm going to wait. But I still want to get some of the new features. I still want to get some of the new cool things. Or if you were a player that was maybe you were interested in Train Sim World, you've heard about it, but you haven't taken a dive, you haven't picked it up just yet. The free starter pack was your way into Train Sim World 5. You got access to the training center, you got access to all the new locos in the training center, and some of the core features. The caveat being some, because certain core features related to specific inter-route connectability, which you wouldn't get with just training center. So you did get a suite of some of the new features and a chance to use it all for free, which is brilliant. And that was yours to keep forever. But we did have a little bit of a limit until October 17th. Well, today we can announce that that limit is being stretched all the way into the new year. So you can pick up the free starter pack for longer than expected. Is what I've done. We do have an asset I think we're working on, but I didn't have it for the stream, so I just did a little cross out there. But we're really excited about this, and again, we've seen such a fantastic reaction from the community, being able to jump into Train Sim World 5 for free, being able to say to their friends, hey, you know what? You just want to play some trains? You want to just get in the training center and give it a go? You may as well claim it. It's free, and this is across all platforms: PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, Epic Games. So we're really excited to be able to push this to the new year. So I would say hard limit, December 31st, 11:59:59, classic things, unless you hear more from us, but we have decided to extend this, and we're really happy for this. But what this will mean is that, let's say some of the content we've got coming up on our roadmap, I'll just switch back to our roadmap graphic. Let's say you were interested in some of the content coming out soon, say MBTA Commuter. Well, that means you can potentially wait until that comes out, then pick up Train Sim World 5 with the free starter pack, and then buy MBTA Commuter, which would be on Train Sim World 5 only, and then you get to play all of MBTA Commuter, experience it in full, without needing to have purchased one of the original Train Sim World 5 bundles as well. So that's the free starter pack. I won't talk much more on it myself, but I just think it's an absolutely fantastic thing, and being able to grow the community is such a really big thing for us, and I think it just brings much more positivity in, as well as new photo mode images for us to share as well. Right, now we're going to talk about the first of our upcoming content. And I know a lot of you are excited for this. So we're going to be talking about the MBTA Commuter Boston to Worcester and Framingham line. Now, this was something that we announced back in our Dovetail Direct. We used the take a ticket, and that was a really fun segment. And just to summarize it from the roadmap, this is essentially US routes will feature a range of commuter and long distance traffic across from Boston South Station, heading off west in the direction of Framingham and Worcester in the Commonwealth state of Massachusetts. Matt, you are an absolute fan of some of the most recent US content. Is there any more insight you can give us about what we can get excited about for MBTA Commuter?
Well, I know I'm nervous for this release because this is my wife's homeroom. So I've been told, get it right or else. So yeah, my wife is from the Worcester area, so it's and she used to ride this train a lot. So yeah, it's an interesting route. It's good to get more MBTA stuff in the game, and actually MBTA have been a blisteringly good partner to work with, exactly the same as Metrolink and so forth. Have been really good, very supportive. They got their team out there doing research trip. And able to get onto the HSP 46, get onto the double-decker cars there, do lots of recordings. They put extra trains on for us, non-revenue trains, so that we could get all of the recordings that we wanted and cab ride footage. on all sorts of things. So, I wouldn't say unprecedented access, but incredibly rare access, I would say at this point. MBTA, brilliant partners to work with. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. Just so you come out of Boston and head west instead of turning south on the Northeast Corridor, you'll continue heading west. I think this has involved remodeling Back Bay. Actually, Boston Back Bay was required quite a lot of remodeling to support this. So it's quite a decent update with some really interesting handling. Actually, there's some parts of track. There's between a couple of stations where it's 2-track. You can see Adam there climbing up and down onto the train. There are a couple of bits of between a couple of stations where it's 2-track. But actually, it's operated as a single track for stopping trains and the other single track for fast through trains. So it's just really interesting variety of operations that go on. This is not just a vanilla line. So I think it'll be good. I think this is going to be fun. The HSP 46 is tremendous. Actually, the heritage of the HSP 46 is the Genesis locos. I think it's the same designer from the Genesis, the P42, P32, those trains that was involved in the design of the HSP 46, which you see here. So you see some nod of familiarity when you get in the cab, at least I think. Tremendous fun to drive as well.
I've seen some lovely questions in the chat, and one of them was, has Matt had an influence on this because everything is pink? And the answer is yes. Yes, Matt did actually change all the colour to this. Well, they're pink in real life.
I told MBTA then. I've been seeding this for ages. I told MBTA a long time ago they needed to be pink, and no, seriously, it's actually less about the fact that they're pink livery. That just happens to be a really, really happy coincidence, and makes them probably my favourite US railroad.
But yeah, we're seeing loads of excitement for the chat. There are, so what we shared in the roadmap was those reference images we just had on screen there. Again, this was from our audio team heading out, Adam and the rest of the team there, getting some really absolutely wonderful samples for the sounds as well as actual references for the locos themselves. And that's what we shared in this roadmap. But I know you're all itching for more information. So there is a new article coming out later this week. Before the weekend, you will see more on MBTA Commuter, which is fantastic. And again, you'll find out more a little bit about the gameplay services and what you can expect. But we did announce that it is coming on October 29th. So that's before the end of the month. So if you are very interested in the MBTA Commuter, then, you don't have to wait long. So, brilliant. That's the first of our announcements. Now, I want to talk a little bit about some of the ones that we covered throughout our Dovetail Direct and since the roadmap. So, this roadmap is very much definitely focused on a lot of our third-party partner updates. But before we move into that, obviously we have had a lot of announcements following the Direct and following the announced Train Sim 5 that I think if we didn't include in the roadmap, probably would be a miss. So what I've done is I've got an image at least for each of the routes that we've talked about in since the Direct and some of the different add-ons that you can expect coming out. And we'll just do a little quick tour on them. Again, if you've not been in a roadmap before, maybe you've missed some of the news of the past, then at least you can be caught up. So this first one here, it's just a single image. We have got a huge range of images on our previous roadmaps. You can find all of these on our forums. You can find all of these in our community spaces as well. This is the Great Western Express, and it is a remaster. So what do we mean by remaster first? Well, essentially, it's when we take an older add-on that's already released. So Great Western Express was one of the oldest routes in Train Sim World. And we basically just pack it with all of the newest features. We bring a whole overhaul, a sweet range of additional improvements, and we bundle it as a free update for existing owners. So regardless of if you already own the Great Western Express, or if you decide to pick it up between now and the remaster's launch or beyond, then you'll be able to make most of the Great Western Express with all the newest Train Sim World 5 features, including conductor mode, including a new overhauled timetable, massive landscape and scenery changes as well. So much love has gone into this from DGG Liam and the team as well. And there's also updated suspension physics on all of the GWE stock as well. So again, this is going to be a little bit of a tour, but the Great Western Express is getting a remaster. So if this interests you as well, then be sure to check that out. But we have already shared quite a lot of news on this, and we'll be sharing more news in the coming roadmaps. I know a lot of the comments have been, when do we know more about the Great Western Express? You'll know more soon. There isn't a release date on this yet, but we just want to catch everyone up that's joining us in with Train Sim World 5. And one of the
Team of Faye just asked about can you keep the old HST, so the green GWI HST is still there as it was before. It's received a bunch of upgrades and fixes as well. The blue is an additional one, which is unbranded. The GWI one retains its brand, but the blue one is unbranded, and that's in there as well. So you don't lose anything in this update.
Thank you, Matt. And that was, again, that was just one. There was 5 different routes I want to talk about here. The next one is the one that's slightly oversized on my OBS. There we go. We can see the title a bit better. It's Pfälzische Ludwigsbahn, Mannheim to Kaiserslautern. So this is our next German adventure, essentially across the scenic Ludwigsbahn as it was in 2014. You'll be heading out of Mannheim, which is a hub of rail fanning, and the route will move you through along Neustadt, HBF, and then you'll go through the valleys to Kaiserslautern as well. I do apologize. Pronunciation errors. I do what training I can, but honestly, I think I just get ridiculed mostly for it, so I apologize. But you can expect lots of variety from this route, and this will be one of the next German routes that we've got. I think it was in the TBC section, so obviously we've got a German route from TSG coming soon, but it is one of the next German routes coming up soon as well. And if you're interested, and because we're kind of approaching Halloween season, there is a station called Frankenstein as well, so isn't that just lovely? You can see it there listed as number 15. Right, the next one coming up after Pfälzische Ludwigsbahn, and these aren't in order of release date at all, these are just the announcements that we've made, will be Trains and World's first ever Welsh route. So this is the Cardiff City Network. And again, this is not new information. We shared this from the announcement of Trains and World 5. But this will be a densely packed network within the city, including passenger services to keep you busy from Welsh Transport for Rail's diesel multiple units across many different stations on the route as well. So if you are a fan of Welsh routes, then this one will excite you. But the Welsh route announcement wasn't the only new country coming to Trains and World. In fact, there were 2 more countries that will be visiting for the first time ever coming soon. The first of these 2 will be our Dutch route. And this is what you're actually looking at here is a very work in progress view of the ICM3 Koploper train, I believe, the locomotive that will be on the Dutch route. This is Zwolle, Groningen. And you'll be able to play with express and commuter services here on this route as well, using the Koploper as well as the Sprinter next generation EMUs. So, I mean, this train is absolutely iconic. I mean, I've never seen a train like it. It looks absolutely incredible. But of course, this is very work in progress. We will be sharing more once we're ready to share that information later down the line. But I talked about sharing more information. I talked about another new country. And of course, Trains and World will be going to Japan. So if you don't already know, we are making, we are not making, the Union Workshop team are making Trains and World first Japanese route, which is the Tadami line, Aizu Wakamatsu to Tadami. And this is just stunning. This is one screenshot here. We have a couple more on our roadmap and some previous ones we've shared for different parts of the route, different scenery elements as well. It's absolutely fantastic. The one I've got on screen here isn't the right reference image, but if you go on the roadmap article, which you can find on our forums, I don't believe I added it to the link in the description, but I'll be able to share a link in the chat just now. You can find a screenshot, which is from the, it's a famous train spotting site along the routes, which is called the Miyashita Three Brothers. And it's basically just 3 overlapping bridges across this forest scene, and it's just beautiful. It's just absolutely stunning. Some of the routes and some of the environment scenery we've been seeing for this are just brilliant. And again, something we'll talk about more in the month to come as we get ready for the release for these add-ons. But we thought we'd catch everyone up before we move over to the third-party section. So lots to be excited about, but we've got some new announcements still yet to come. Matt, is there anything you want to mention on any of those things that we just quickly briefed over there?
Just lots of exciting stuff, isn't there? Really, with the Tadami line, I think is great. Union Workshop seems to have really grasped some very exciting stuff on what they're producing. Cardiff City Network is probably one of the ones I'm most looking forward to because it's a network route, and I really like that style of route. Who can do you have anything to say bad about going to the Netherlands? And getting iconic trains like the Koploper in there as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward. There's just so much to look forward to.
And actually, when we looked at previous polls about what routes you'd want to see in Trains and World, the Netherlands was really high up on that list of routes you'd like to visit. So it's fantastic that there is definitely a want to visit the Netherlands, and obviously that will be very exciting when it's closer to release. But we can't wait to share more. But for now, we want to talk about a new announcement on the roadmap. So we've already talked about it briefly, but this is the Manchester Airport Commuter. And we do have images from the Alan Thompson simulation team. And I believe these should hopefully roll through. I think you'll get a few seconds on each image. And these are just fantastic. Brilliant to see these at this point. But of course, these are still work in progress, so keep that in mind. But Alan Thompson Simulation is a brand new partner to the world of Train Sim World, but you may recognize them for some of their work on Train Simulator Classic, so they're seasoned developers. But they wanted to start in Train Sim World with a new route, and they have chosen the 27-mile Manchester Airport Commuter route. And I've got a list of things that I want to read here that we included on our roadmap article itself, but it's essentially just some of the things that you're going to be seeing across the route, and some of them are obvious and some of them are really interesting as well. Obviously Manchester Airport Station, but you also get the airport skywalk, and you get that at day and night. You get the Longside Depot and the Manchester International Depot, the airport line with the runway and approach lights, Piccadilly throat improvements from Gloucester Line, as well as Piccadilly station improvements, Slade Lane junction bend to the airport line. Neutral sections are added along the route at specific locations. You've got the Held Green Triangle junction areas, as well as the Stye Station curve. You've got Wilmslow Station with the underbridge, Alderley Edge Station from the P2 car park and the turnback sidings, Heaton North Junction with the signal box, Stockport Station and the Stockport Viaduct, both day and night, Edgeley junction areas, as well as Bridgeley between Cheltenham and Handsworth. So lots of things to be excited about. Is it Chelsea? Ah, well, there you go. I think my pronunciation just across the board. It's not even German roots. It's just reading in general. But we've seen lots of excitement for this today because this was a new announcement, and I know the Alan Thompson team are very keen on sharing more information as well. So hopefully look forward to seeing them around the community. I know they're very eager to get involved. But Matt, is there anything Manchester Airport? I mean, this is a very exciting line coming to the route, and I think it'll be a new experience because obviously we've just added in some of the new licensed Airbus planes as well, which is very exciting, and it kind of works perfectly in tandem with this.
Yeah, I mean it's a really interesting project. I'm looking forward to seeing this one progress. The Alan Thompson team are skilled at what they do, and I'm looking forward to seeing them complete the first project. This is very, very cool.
Just look at that screenshot with the plane as well. There were a fantastic range of screenshots, and I do hope we can share more as the weeks and months go by. But we do have to move on. So that's the Manchester Airport line. We also got an update from the Just Trains team. So I know you're all excited about this for the West Coast Main Line, Preston to Carlisle. And we've got a couple images here that we shared from our previous roadmap as well. Which will cycle through, I hope. Yes, there we go. They are on a timer. But yeah, so this route is, I believe, I haven't got the era written down on my notes, Matt. Do you know the era this is produced in?
1980s, if I recall correctly.
There we go. 1980s era. It departs from the city of Preston, and it will run through very immersive scenery from Penrith to Carlisle. And you'll also be able to have the option to run on the unelectrified Morecambe branch. And did you know that this is the longest ever UK route to Train Sim World? It is over 100 miles long. So that's a milestone right there. But no, a lot of people. It's
going to be really interesting. It's going to be a really interesting one to drive as well, because you've got the Class 87, which has got, it's a tap changing loco, so it's not just your normal 0 to 100% throttle. You tap up and you tap down, but it's also got neutral sections, which present an interesting challenge for a tap changing loco like the 87. If you played this route on Train Sim Classic, you'll know exactly what I mean. But yeah, this is a fun route to drive.
And so these are some of the images we shared in our last roadmap. We do actually have something that Just Train shared recently, and we kind of started, I think, about a minute in. This is a time lapse at Carlisle Station. It just shows some services happening over the course of an hour, kind of later at night. And you can just see, we'll just leave this rolling on here. But you will be able to find this on the Just Trains development blogs. They share blogs quite regularly. I believe they do an update at least every week or two. So I would recommend just checking the Just Trains team, their blogs out. They share videos, they share new images, and it's really wonderful. And we will also share what they have posted as well. But They have been very in touch with the development. But yeah, just looking at these time-lapse videos, I know everyone loves a good time-lapse. And I think it just really shows some of the variety that you'll be able to get coming out of Carlisle. There we go. You can find this video on YouTube. It is linked in our roadmap article as well. So we won't sit here and watch the full 5 minutes, but I just thought I'd include that before we moved on. So the next thing on our list is an update from Rivet Games. So this is for the Levenmouth branch update for Fife Circle. And today we had a whole new range of images from Rivet Games for the actual in-development process of the Levenmouth branch, which will be a free update to people who own the Fife Circle line route. So we've been talking about this for a couple months now. Since the release of Fife Circle, the Levenmouth branch had only recently just opened, and so they were able to get, they talked a little bit about how they had to do aerial shots to get real life references, and it was quite a journey. They had helicopter rides as well. And some of that was really interesting if you are keen on learning about how the actual development process goes behind the scenes. But what you're seeing here is work in progress pictures of the route development itself. So this is again, this is a free update for owners of the Fife Circle line route, and it will come with over 40 new timetable services, as well as 2 brand new stations that you can discover and explore. We're looking at one of them just here as well. As well as 16 additional collectibles that you can find across the route. And with this update, I know there were a few questions on this, but with this, Rivet Games have also implemented a range of Fife Circle line improvements and bug fixes, which we'll confirm a little close to the time when this is ready to release. But we don't have a release date for this yet, but we'll keep you all informed when we get closer to the time. But the story with Levenmouth branch, or Levenmouth, doesn't stop there, because Rivet Games have been doing fantastic work on this update, and so have Skyhook Games. They've been working kind of in tandem, and so let's move over to the Levenmouth rail link livery for the ScotRail Class 158. So we've got a couple images here, which again, we've already shared these, but I just want to bring them back to everyone's focus while we talk. So Skyhook have been developing this rail link livery for the ScotRail Class 158. And as you can see here, it looks absolutely fantastic. And this will come as a free update to players who already own the ScotRail Class 158 as well. So you can see those images on screen. But Skyhook also came back and talked a little bit some of the other developments they've been working on. And some of this also included updates to the ScotRail Express Edinburgh-Glasgow add-on, specifically the expansion of the timetable. So they've been bringing some of the AI, the additional AI services, and they've been converting these for player uses. And we've got a couple images that I want to show here from their teams. I've just toggled off my border. There we go. And I think these will roll through. Yes. These were just a couple work in progress images they decided to share with us. And as you can see here, they've been working on expanding that timetable for the Edinburgh-Glasgow route, which is fantastic because that wasn't the only update they wanted to share with us today. They've been doing other back catalog improvements to work on some of the Trainstream World 5 new features. And also, they've added conductor mode to both the EMT and ScotRail Class 158. So you'll be able to enjoy that as a free update as well. Which is just fantastic, and having more updates for the stuff you already own is just brilliant. But they didn't stop there. Skyhook Games have been working on the next iterations of the cargo line packs. So these are the gameplay packs that brought new liveries, brought new locomotives, and importantly brought new gameplay scenarios for some of your favorite existing routes. And so they've already released Cargo Line Volume 1 and Volume 2, and now they're here with Cargo Line Volume 3, which is the Intermodal pack. So here are a couple work in progress images here. I believe we've got 3 images that should cycle through from Skyhook with the Cargo Line Volume 3 pack. They also announced that they are developing the Cargo Line Volume 4 military pack as well. So I would highly recommend, again, similar to Just Trains, Skyhook have their own blog on their website. They share loads of images and they talk a lot about the story so far with how they've been developing cargo line volume packs in general. And it's a really interesting read. They have videos, they have behind the scenes development showcases too. So if you're very interested in the cargo line packs, definitely check that out. But take a look at these new images for the time being, and we'll follow up with more information in the coming weeks when these are ready to be closer to release as well. So I think from a third-party perspective, that's most of the things. There is one more thing that we want to talk about, but we don't have any images really for it, so we'll go back to the main cameras. And again, if you've seen some of that information, maybe you want to see some of it again, or you want to watch it at your own pace, you can obviously check out this live stream as you like, but we do have the roadmap article, which has some text, that has some lovely written copy in it, which I've just pasted in the chat there on YouTube, and you should be able to read more in there. But the Expert DB BR101 and the IC Steuerwagen Loco. I'm saying that questioningly because I don't think I've ever pronounced that before, and I'm sure it's wrong. But this is from the TSG team, which is fantastic. And I want to talk a little bit about what we mean by the Expert Locos first. So Expert Locos are essentially our way of saying, let's take the experience you get from simulation in Train Sim World and basically give you absolutely all of the features that we possibly can. It's essentially like driving the train in real life. Like, we're not going to give you really any tips. This is just the real thing. If you saw the Expert 101 manual, this was, I think it was 100 pages long, or maybe close, maybe even over. It was a massive document. And it included a fully integrated fault system with random faults that could occur. I know when we were on the preview live stream, Lucas was able to toggle on the actual misting of the windows. It just offers a really authentic level of simulation that goes beyond what we typically tend to offer in some of our other locos, because it really pushes the absolute limit of what we can simulate in Train Sim World. So it really pushes that notch up. But the Expert 101 is already released. It's already an add-on you can pick up, but it's got an update coming to it. And I think update maybe doesn't quite do it justice. This is a really nice suite of new improvements and new features that you'll be able to get your hands on. And Lucas from the TSG team was able to give us a list of what this includes. And I will read that out for you now, because I think some of the things on this will be really exciting to look forward to. Here we go. So gameplay changes wise, I know a lot of people in the community have been asking about when this is coming. So the Expert DB101 will have a timetable for both Frankfurt-Fulda, which is the new Train Sim World 5 route, and it will also have a timetable for the Bremen-Oldenburg route as well. They've also added in they've replaced the 406 with the DB BR411 from Frankfurt-Fulda on Dresden-Riese, as well as adding some driver assist prompts as well. Outside of that, they've also made a whole range of improvements to the IC cab car, to the Expert 101. So the IC cab car will have the new suspension physics, just the cab car itself. But we also have, they would have fixed some of the windshield rain visuals as well. A whole range of improvements. For the Expert 101 as well, they've done some fixes to the glass effects. They've fixed the cab 2 auxiliary control. There's a list on the roadmap. I'll let you read that in your own pace, because that's not a short list. But what I will say is that's a list of highlights. And there is a massive list that is coming in a future update that is very close to being in your hands as well. But that is a massive range of improvements. So if you've been a fan of the Expert 101, then hopefully you're excited, and we'll hopefully give you more news on when you can expect those soon. Matt, I don't know if you wanted to add Expert 101 bits. Are you excited for some of the changes coming soon?
Oh yeah, no, there's some really good updates been there. It's good to be able to get the Expert 101 to some more timetables on other routes as well. And they've been able to get a good range of new stuff into that. So the Expert 101 is a favourite amongst those who are looking for that extra level of authenticity, and it really delivers it in by the bucket load. It's really good.
Yeah, I genuinely, when we turned on the screen demisters, because it started fogging up because the weather outside was cold and it was inside cold, I remember seeing it on the stream. I panicked a little bit. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. But there we go, it's the little things. Anyway, so there's a couple questions in chat I want to touch on, and someone's asked a little bit about conductor mode on the MBTA commuter. So we haven't talked about this yet. Obviously, I talked about an article coming later this week, so I'd wait for that. But generally, as a note, conductor mode is a feature in Train Sim World 5, and typically we tend to keep features moving forward in some of the add-ons that we bring to the latest iteration of Train Sim World. So wait for the article, but expect that to be answered with that in mind. So the next thing we want to talk about is patches. And I think there's a really good, important discussion we can have about this. So I want to get some of my notes up. Here we go. So far, since the release of Train Sim World 5, we've been able to implement a smaller set of updates. Essentially, we've had a patch on the 17th, which was on launch day. We've had a patch on the 18th, and we've had a patch on the 26th. So all of these have kind of been what we've branded as like smaller update patches. They've not necessarily been small in size, but they've been smaller in the things that we want to specifically target as our big changes that we wanted to address from launch. So some of this was the Class 377 suspension, the Frankfurt PIS. On the 18th, we had some difficulties with profile importation, and on the 26th, we had many pop-ups and other issues that we were able to address. So we appreciate all your feedback, folks. There's been a lot of different things from launch that we've been trying to address, and I know there is a big conversation around performance, especially around some people experiencing crashes as well. Just to let you know, this is a top priority from our teams. We're seeing the different feedback coming in. We're seeing the people talking about wanting to be able to experience the routes in the best way they can, and we're looking at this at an absolute top level, and that's why the first major post-release patch that we're kind of branding as like a big patch is coming very soon. We don't want to give you a date unless we're confident on it, but just very soon is as close to clear as hopefully I can give you, and that will have the first pass of what we're doing to help improve performance. A lot of the crashes we're seeing, and feel free in a moment, Matt, to chip in and give a little bit more depth to what I'm saying. But for some of the performance issues we're seeing are related to memory limits, especially on different platforms, depending on what consoles you have or what systems you have, computer specs wise. And so some of these improvements we're making and optimizations that we've been talking about are looking at ways we can tweak some of the assets on the route to help reduce the memory calls that are being pulled up, especially when you get to busy stations where there's lots of stuff happening. Matt, is there some kind of I think there's a better way you can talk about this, I think.
Well, there's a number of areas that we're looking at. One of them is some tech platforms, particularly consoles, are seeing textures getting low quality after a while. So we're in the process of diagnosing that one at the moment. What's really frustrating on that one is that it doesn't do that on the developer kits. But we can reproduce it on a retail kit as it transpires now, but the developer kits aren't doing it. So we're working with Sony and Microsoft to work out why are they different. They're specifically supposed to not be different. So I assume that there's a setting different that we're chasing that down, and then we'll be able to get a handle on why that is. So that work is we're profiling at the moment and trying to pace that one down. Then you've got some crashing back to home screen, crashing back to desktop. And that's normally out of memory. I mean, particularly on consoles. On PC, it shouldn't really ever be running out of memory. So if you're getting crashes, please let us know. But on consoles, if you're running out of memory, one of the things we're doing is we're profiling the routes to work out where they're inefficient. We found a few inefficient areas. We're looking at the core game to see what we can do to optimize the core game as well. So there's really just a broad spectrum of not just focusing on specific routes, but also what can we do with the core game to try and optimize things there. And so the steps undergoing there on that one. But within routes, it's things like some of this inefficient object placement. I think in one case we found 2 or 3 times as many trees were placed than needed to be there. And it's not about thinning out the trees; it's about getting them down to where they should be. There was just something had gone wrong with when they were placing the trees, and it went a bit crazy. I think that sort of thing, actually, trees can be a significant cause of frame rate loss because of the fact that the way that the overdraw works and the transparencies in the textures can actually make those incredibly inefficient, especially if you've got lots of them. So there's things like that which certainly don't help. So we're looking at a wide range of different things and just looking at all of the routes, probably focusing mostly on Frankfurt and West Coast Main Line, because that's kind of where the more severe issues are. There's lots of stuff happening in that side of things, and it's the engineering teams are prioritizing, reviewing that stuff, and sort of taking it forward. So taking those particular issues very seriously, and wanting to get you improvements as soon as we can.
Perfectly said. And thank you, Matt. And I think the thank you really should be to the community, because during the last month, especially since launch and through early access, there's just been an absolutely overwhelmingly a wonderful reception and feedback passage from the community to us, to our development teams, reporting bugs. And I think we've hopefully been able to deliver some improvements so far, but I'm really hoping that this next patch takes the first big swing at getting some of those improvements in your hands. And we're going to continue doing that. And we're going to continue supporting the release of Train Sim 5 moving forward, and really using your feedback as a guide at every step of the way. And this is whether we're in the Discords, whether we're working with our moderator teams to look at Reddits, Facebook groups, to look at socials, whether we're looking in the chat right now, or whether we're looking on the forums. We've got dedicated threads on there. Trust me, our teams they're looking, they're taking in your notes. And really all I want to say is thank you for being patient. Thank you for waiting for some of these improvements as well. We're here to deliver the best experience we can with Train2World, and we hope you'll stay with us for the journey.
I also want to, before we move on, I just want to shout out to a couple of people. I won't name names because I'm not permission to give their names. You know who you are, who have been working with me via DMs on Facebook, particularly regarding some of the quality texture degradation issues and trying to work through some tests we've asked you to do, and also getting your feedback on some stuff as well. So really appreciate your support, and yeah, like I said, we'll do our best to get those resolutions.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to talk about is, so we have actually shared on the roadmap, and I'll talk about some of them now, some of the top things that we're looking at in this patch. Now, being fully honest, I'm the one in charge of writing these patch notes, and I've not finished yet, so I'm going through it. You'll hopefully get these soon. But some of the top changes that we know you're looking forward to, for West Coast Mainline, there are lighting changes at the Euston Station. There's more OHLE added in areas that it should have been outside of Milton Keynes. If you've seen some of the Bletchley Station textures, we've fixed those. I think there was an issue with some of them displaying incorrectly on the outside of the building, so we fixed those. Watford Junction, it was taken over by TfL. They overthrew it. They just took control, and we didn't know what to do. They completely annexed the station. So we've taken back control. Watford Junction is now a free spirit again, and it now has the correct signage. There are improvements to stop passengers clumping up in stairs. Sometimes they kind of just they bug out a little bit on each other and they kind of group up. It's like they're having like a little party together, but they'll stop doing that. There's no parties in Train2World. The class 350 headlights, they no longer stay on when you've deactivated them in the cab, as well as the class 350 track joint sounds. They've been re-added because I believe they weren't playing audio, as well as the updated gangway door audio as well. And some people have reported small clicking sounds in the fans, which we've looked at and been able to address as well. That's West Coast Mainline. That's not all the changes. Trust me, there's at least 80 lines of changes for West Coast Mainline. Those are just some of the ones that I think you'll find most relevant. There are just a massive other range of improvements that you can look forward to as well. So some changes on Frankfurt Folder. We have fixed the BR114 brakes not working correctly. I think this is related to the brake pressure. Thank you for everyone who reported that, because our teams were looking at that as well as a top priority. There was a gap in the BR411 gangways, which we've been able to address, and some of the digital screens on the ICT as well when they didn't tilt correctly with the train. That's Frankfurt Folder. It's definitely not everything, but just some of the ones we wanted to pull out. San Bernardino, some of the services durations, they weren't quite right, so you'd start a service and there'd be no way you could complete it in time, so we've taken another pass to look at those. There is additional car traffic in some areas. This isn't across the route in general, but some certain areas which definitely needed more car traffic have had it. And for all the wizards that are around the Covina area, we've fixed some of the floating assets, so you won't see floating candles, floating trees, floating assets. So they've been put back on the ground where they should be. And then there are some changes for the Vectron. I think these are really important for the Flixtrain Vectron. The distributor release valve can now be interacted with. The exterior brake lights now display as expected. The hose pipes of the Talbot coaches are now connected at the gangways, and the brakes no longer release by themselves. So big patch. We've not got a release date for it yet. It's coming very soon. We're working on your feedback, but keep it coming. And thank you everyone who has been a part of that process. We really want to make this experience the best it can be. Speaking of experience, some of that is messaging. And there has been a couple instances where I want to apologize from us as a team. About some of the messaging we've said has not been always accurate, and we're doing our best. When we released 2015, our teams are very busy. There's a lot of different things that we've got to keep an eye on. I know it's not a brilliant excuse, but what I wanted to say is that some of the track shadow renderings, we shared a list in the August roadmap, so before the release of 2015, we shared a list of all the routes that intend to have track shadows. And when I talk about track shadows, I talk about usually you get that shadow limit that's about a few meters ahead of the train that you can kind of see following you through the route. And it's an engine thing, it's an engine rendering issue, but we've actually found a way to extend this using a new wonderful technology, which Matt's talked a little bit about in the past, I believe in the previous roadmap. And we found a way to extend that and that has been implemented on a range of routes. You can find the routes that it's currently on in our FAQs, but when we talked about it in August, we talked about all of the routes that would have it and currently have it. And actually what we didn't realize is that some of the routes will have it in a future update. So they're still going to have those improvements. That list still will be reflective, but it isn't currently in game. Some of them are still waiting to have it in a patch. So we do apologize, but they will get it in a future update. As well as Xbox Series S layering. So we have done some updates. So I think when we first released Train Sim World 5, we're talking about the available layers you could get on some of the TSW5 core content. And when we first launched Train Sim World 5, you had everything available for you on West Coast Mainline. You had some things for Frankfurt Folder, and then you had no additional layers for San Bernardino. Since then, we've actually done some work to help improve the optimization of this. We've actually added all the San Bernardino layers in, so you can get all of the access to layers on both West Coast Mainline and San Bernardino. Frankfurt Folder still has some missing, but there are some more coming in a future update, and we're still looking at how to improve this for Series S players as well. Again, thank you for your feedback on that. We're trying to make sure that our messaging is up to date, but I did want to say I appreciate your patience while we deliver those updates too. So that's it from the patches and updates section. It's been a really interesting ride. It's been a really great launch to welcome everyone in. But of course, there's always going to be bugs when you launch a new thing. There's always going to be things that you can't see as a team. Ultimately, our QA testing team and our entire team at Dovetail pale nothing in comparison to the thousands of new players coming in with the free starter pack, thousands of new players to pick up Train Sim World. You will always outnumber us, so you will always end up finding more things. But we really appreciate it when you can work with us. And I did want to say again, a final thank you for everyone that has helped us report the bugs and get them squashed. Now, Community Corner. This is my favorite bit of the roadmap. I know most people probably disagree because they just want to hear about the new stuff, but I love the Community Corner. And in it is a selection of images. So I'm going to play these as I talk about this, but photo mode obviously has had some updates with Train Sim World 5. And some of the updates include the ability to change the weather how you like, but different ways of using motion blur, different ways of using the in-depth filters. It had a new UI to it as well. Just look at some of these absolutely stunning community sent in images. And I want to just open my photo mode list here while this is playing in the background and just give a shout out to all of the people that submitted these images on our forums and in our community. Trainiac, Wellington, #9478, Sooth, SBL32, RPB1966, JTM Diaz, #2874, EEE, and Dan Tech Manify. So those are your images cycling through. You've been absolutely fantastic, but this is nothing compared to the absolutely amazing range of other photo mode screenshots that have been shared in our community. And if you didn't know, you can actually get on the Train Sim World 5 loading screens if you sign up to our Train Sim World 5 weekly screenshot competitions. So if you don't know what those are, if you've never heard about those before, they're in our forums. I'm going to get the link now while these photo modes still roll in the background. And essentially, all you need to do is just go take a cool screenshot each week. And for as long as you're following the theme, we tend to kind of release a bit of a theme, whether it's maybe in the tunnel or in the dark or using a close-up shot. That link in the chat there will take you to our forums where we host this weekly competition. And the winners of those weekly competitions then get chosen to be put on a loading screen in-game as well. So yeah, if you want to be featured in-game, if you want to get your screenshots on our in Train Sim World and be able to point at the screen and say, hey, that was me, your name will be included as well. Now this is your chance. And there's also a #RailShots as well, and a #TSWRailShots if you want to be featured on social instead. So if being in-game is not your preference, you can be featured on our social media via our Twitter, our Facebook, and our Instagram too. So those are some brilliant images. There is a couple things I want to talk about. This month, we released our monthly mastery challenges. This is essentially just a nice way of kind of focusing a lot of the new people coming into Train Sim World with some basic goals to get started, really. But we want to make sure that monthly mastery challenges feel satisfying to complete, they feel fun. And this is just our first pass at it, so feel free to give us some feedback. But essentially, these are a set of missions and goals that you'll get every month that you need to complete. And in reward, you get like this little badge. So as you can see on screen here, this is the October 2024 one. It's kind of got that nice autumnal color to it. And every month there'll be a different badge. It will have the same kind of icon, just in a slightly different color. And you'll be able to use these in Livery Designer. You'll be able to put them on your favorite train and you'll be able to kind of collect them as you go. And it's a bit of fun. Again, some of the challenges we see here: drive 10 miles, drive 120 miles, complete certain tutorials in a training center. We wanted to make this first month very friendly for new people coming to the game. But don't be fooled; these will get more complex. They will get harder. They will ramp up in complexity as the months go on. And we're looking to really push this forward once a month, just so that you can enjoy something to collect and something to log into, as well as collecting new things to use in Livery Designer too. So that's the monthly mastery challenge. Be sure to check that out. These missions are live right now in Train Sim World. And finally, Matt, I am going to pass this over to you. There is a very special event happening this weekend. We talked a little bit about it, but then we shifted it from last weekend to now. But Matt is doing a wonderful charity live stream marathon this weekend, the 12th and 13th of October, to raise money for Special Effect. Matt, do you want to say a few words?
First of all, I want to just shout out to the creative team that have modified this picture to put me in the Train Sim World 5 t-shirt. This is a really old picture. That's just brilliant. I just noticed that. That's a fantastic job. But yes, so yeah, I was supposed to do this last week, but I came down with a respiratory virus and basically couldn't talk. I did think that was probably the best place to be doing a long stream. So very happy that I'm feeling a lot better now. So thank you for everybody who sent well wishes. So this weekend we'll be doing the One Special Day stream. Yes, I know it's one special day and it's over 2 days. It's fine. Yeah, the One Special Effect hold this annually, and it was last Friday, I think, was the specific One Special Day. So we'll be setting up a Just Giving page, and then we'll be having 2 streams, 2 12-hour streams on Saturday and Sunday, where I'll be playing lots of Train Sim World, hoping to get some guests. So it's not just putting up with listening to me waffle all the time. So I believe that we've cornered yourself, Alex, into joining in as well, and some others around as well. So it should be really interesting, trying to get a little bit more variety than normal, but also just play a lot of Train Sim World and just really have a good time. So hopefully we can raise some really good money for Special Effect, who, if you haven't come across Special Effect before, they raise money, or they support people getting into gaming, but with disabilities and so forth. So they'll look at the kind of disability they've got, and and the kinds of games that they want to play, the sort of things they're interested in. And quite often these are people that would just never have dreamed they could ever game again, or never game at all, depending on, sometimes people have experienced a life-changing event, or sometimes they're kind of born that way, and either it doesn't matter. Special Effect will come along and they'll provide consultation, which I believe is free of charge, and they will work out what equipment, what kind of peripherals and equipment, because there's lots of specialist equipment, and then help these people, everyone just game equally. And it's absolutely phenomenal. I'll hopefully have some videos from Special Effect to share over the weekend as well. Really, truly inspiring videos that really show you just how successful they are, really successful. And what's really important is they don't get government funding or anything like that. The money all the money they get to work with comes from you and me, and donations and so forth. So that's why these special charity events like this one are so crucially important to them. So if you're able to come along and say hello, that'd be absolutely superb. I would really appreciate that. If you're able to chip in a little bit on the donations to Special Effect, that'd be magnificent. But either way, come along, let's have some fun playing some trains.
That's it. Let's have some fun playing some trains. And yeah, their team is fantastic. Something that they told me about a case study, because they've come into our office, they've showed us how to set up the accessible controllers, and we've played some Train Sim World in the past using them as well. They actually managed to make Fallout 4, so it's not Train Sim World, but Fallout 4, again, first person, moving around, looking around, fully accessible with just your eyes. And that is just phenomenal. And they custom built an entire rig, they custom modified the game just to make that accessible for the person that needed it, because they loved Fallout. But anyway, Special Effects are fantastic. I would recommend checking out the channel, but we'll be doing a wonderful charity live stream just this weekend, playing Train Sim World 5. And speaking of playing Train Sim World 5, Henley's Gaming Club, what should I drive, the 350 or the 390? Because you're playing Train Sim World 5 right now. I'm going to say the 390 because I think the Pendolinos are sweet. So that's why.
See, I'd go 350, but you know what?
Now
you're back to square one again.
Why not both? Right.
Do both. Do both.
Do both. I mean, do conductor mode in a 350 because I did really enjoy that on my stream last week.
That's quite fun. Yeah, yeah.
Now, we're going to get some questions asked by the community. I want to talk a little bit about PC Editor. And I say I want to talk a little bit. I'm probably going to pass over mostly to Matt. But I will start by saying the PC Editor, if you don't know about it, we do have a Train Sim World PC Editor. You can get it via the Epic Games Store. It will link in if you own it. It will only be available on PC, so this is only for people specifically who have Train Sim World 5 or Train Sim World 4 on Steam or Epic Games. And in the editor, you can do loads of things. You can essentially be what our third parties are. You can develop your own routes, you can develop your own add-ons, or you can just have a play around and see what you want to work on in the editor as well. So you will have some of the tools, you will have some of the assets that we use in Train Sim World. And of course, we're still supporting this with the launch of Train Sim World 5. We made a Train Sim World 5 version of the editor. We are aware that there are some small issues with it. I believe there's currently a crashing issue when you lay down some track. But Matt, didn't you mention that there was a patch for this coming soon?
We don't have a fix for it yet, but it is literally the work that the engineer is working on at the moment. So for a while now, I've been saying that we're hoping to get an engineer working full time on the editor at some point soon. Happy to report he started yesterday. So welcome to Will. Yeah, he's going to be digging in, going in, head first and looking into editor issues. He's starting off with the track lane crash, and then he has a load of other things that he wants to be looking at as well. Now, Will is connected with the community, he's got his finger on the pulse of what people are looking for from the community, the people who are trying to use the editor. So yeah, we've got a long list of things that we want to get done, and it's his entire focus. I am for envisaging the beginning of a series of upgrades to the editor coming forward from here on out. So yeah, as soon as we've got fixes for those issues, we'll let you know.
We have seen some amazing stuff from the PC editor, and actually some of the we've talked a lot about this in the past, so I won't talk about it tons now, but we've seen the journey from when we released the editor until now of bringing more people into developing Train Sim World content. And trying out the editor, getting used to it, starting out with small gameplay packs or just being crazy and starting out with massive route ideas and laying track and building the route of their dreams. And well, actually some of those people we're now working with as third parties, and maybe you'll start hearing more about some of those third parties in the months to come. But obviously anything that's not been announced will be announced at a later time. So there you go. There I go, leaking things again. But really the editor is a fantastic way of bringing more people into the Train Sim World ecosystem and growing our third parties and basically just getting more content, more variety of content to all of you, which is fantastic, and it's only a good thing. So
there is someone's asked how you get the editor. So you'll find the editor on the Epic Games Store. You don't have to be using the Epic version of the game, or if you have it, you don't have to have it installed. The editor will work out whether you've got the Steam one or the Epic one installed. I know one of the other things we looked that is on Will's list is to work out whether we can make it work with the Xbox Game Pass version, not the Xbox itself, but on the PC Game Pass version of it as well. But we're not there yet. But for now, effectively, go onto the Epic Games Store. You'll find the Train Sim World 5 editor is there as a free download. You download that, install it, and as long as you run, basically you want to run the game in Steam after you've had any kind of significant update. That will make sure all of the configuration and so forth gets set up correctly, and then when you run the editor, it's able to then find everything magically that's available. So yeah, if you change over to Epic for some reason, make sure you run that one next, and then that'll update its settings. So it pretty much detects which is the right one to use based on the last one that you had open.
And that's the editor. Yeah, it's a fantastic tool. If you need any help with the editor, or if you are interested, or if you're already using it, we do have a wonderful PC editor forum space. We have an amazing community that work and help each other, and you can check all these things out. I will link the editor forums in, but you can find people using the editor and support for it all over the place. And in this, there are community-made documentation. I know, Matt, you've made various different little tutorial guides on the forums as well as many different people in the community. It's a really wonderful space. People sharing cool things they're doing, people sharing tutorials, really just helping each other out and asking questions. And it's really wonderful. We want to keep supporting that, but as Matt says, we've got Will now working full-time on the editors, so hopefully more improvements will come. And we're excited for the editor as well. So Right, that leads us to the part of the roadmap stream. Again, if this is your first time watching through, when we get to the end of our roadmap, we tend to answer some questions from the community. So we've got some questions that came from our Q&A thread earlier today. We'll answer some ones live in the chat as we've been doing throughout the stream anyway, and then we'll just wrap up. We'll do a quick summary of everything we've gone over just briefly, and then wrap up for the night. So thank you for joining us, but we have some questions, and some of these are really interesting questions. Some of them are quick ones, but I think Matt, I'll ask this one to you first. And it's what are now that Train Sim 5 is released, what are our priorities? What are we looking at? Which feedback are we actioning at a top level?
I mean, I've directed the team towards robustness, degrading textures, performance, crashes. All that stuff has got to be number one in terms of what we're looking at to fix. Now, that doesn't mean there isn't other development like Boston going on. Those people aren't really involved in doing all of the profiling and so forth. So from an engineering perspective, it's all about bug fixing and getting the robustness and so forth improved. So really focusing in on that stuff, and hopefully you'll start seeing the fruits of that over the next few patches.
I've just seen, I've been immediately distracted by someone saying, is there cats in the game? When will you be adding cats? Odin Moore, you need to look at this thread. There is already cats in Train Sim World. There's an entire thread of DTG cat sightings. You should check that thread out.
The Birmingham route has loads of cats in it.
There you
They're all named, so you can go and find them all and mark them off in a little book.
Actually, I really like the idea of doing that now. Back to some of the scripted questions we had. I say scripted, they're just written on my script. They're not rigged in any way. But big core updates. So someone's been asking a little bit about, what is the plan for updates after the launch of Train Sim World 5? And I think this relates more to back when, before the release of Train Sim World 5, we kind of branded some of our Train Sim World 4 updates into big core updates, what we called them. We called them like the winter core, the summer core. And it's basically a way of us being able to fold a lot of things into a single update push that we could test all as one. We could make sure it's as stable as it can be. And then it means that the kind of sweep up process, if there's any issues with that patch, is much easier on our end as well. So the likelihood is, yes, we will move back to some big core bundled patches in the future, but we're still currently in a stage where we're working on patches every couple of weeks to get big improvements to you. So we're still in that post-launch, let's keep getting improvements out when we can phase, but we will likely move back to some bigger folded patches shortly after that. Now, there is a question about more West Coast mainline improvements. So yes, these are still being worked on. We have a forum thread posted on our announcements channel that talks a little bit about what we want to do with West Coast mainline. That does include suspension for the 72 stock. It does include other improvements to the route. It does include like GSMR functionality for the 390. There are multiple different improvements we want to make to the route. It does include the timetable. But in this first patch, just to be clear, there are a range of improvements to the West Coast mainline. There are fixes to different bugs the community have raised, as well as we talked a little bit about some optimizations and some fixes as well. That's this first patch that is coming out soon, no release date yet. There is still further work happening. There is still development happening. And we are looking at the timetable for the West Coast mainline routes. This is the West Coast mainline Train Sim World 5 core route, again, not to be confused with Just Train's West Coast mainline. We are looking at as a bigger project longer term that is kind of outside of the other patches we're doing at the moment. So development is going on, but yes, we are looking at it. Our teams are working on it, and we'll let you know when we're ready to share more on that. I know it's a little bit frustrating, like when is it exactly what's happening? But ultimately, it's best to talk about these things when we're confident with them and when we're ready to share the news, so that we can essentially just communicate best what you should expect coming to the route. So development is happening, improvements are coming. But that's really kind of where we're up to at the moment. But we do still have that.
Before we move off West Coast mainline, I've seen a couple of people asking about 350 and its suspension. So that's happening. And I just asked for an update earlier on today, actually. So hopefully I'll find out tomorrow where we're at with it. It is in progress. But we're not just adding suspension, we're actually redoing the physics on the 350. So there's a fairly large amount of work going on the 350 to improve it and make it more realistic, in addition to adding suspension to it. So when we know more about when that will be finished, which hopefully won't be long, then you'll be seeing that. But yeah, that's happening, and that'll be coming out in one of these short-term patches.
Thank you, Matt. There are a lot of questions in the chat that are essentially asking us, are we going to do X thing? Are we going to do Spanish routes or the Orange County line? Are we going to do anything that's relating to something we haven't announced? We won't really talk about. There's no point saying yes or no or maybe, because it doesn't really tell you anything. I suppose yes would, but if we had that news, it would be announced already. So in terms of anything that we haven't announced in this roadmap or in previous roadmaps that isn't on our roadmap graphic, which I'll get up, if it isn't here, then assume for now that we can't really answer the question of whether we're doing it or not, because it isn't currently in the plans, I suppose. So, but yes, I mean, I think a good way to answer the, is there Spanish routes? We haven't announced anything. It's not on our roadmap, but what is on the roadmap is 3 brand new countries to Train Sim World. So we are keen on expanding the world of Train Sim World and look to kind of grow that as well, based on what the community wants to see. And again, we've taken some surveys to understand what players want to see as well. So I'll go back to our cameras as well. But thank you for the question. Another one we've got here. So we've got one about future reworks. So are we looking at doing these to more back catalog content? So I think this question actually specifically mentioned a few examples, but I think just in general reworks. Matt, I believe you left a comment on this question.
Yeah, so reworks tend to come up more as opportunity arises to do a rework rather than a long-term plan for them. So got no plans for them. That's not to say that they won't happen. I mean, I've got one I'm working on, but haven't worked on in at least 6 months because I've been too busy. Yeah, these things are they're great. There's a strong desire amongst the team to do these things because they're quite enjoyable passion projects. But no plans at this point. As they change, we'll let you know.
Thank you, Matt. I've seen a couple people asking in the chat about LNWR branding, and that was on our list as well. But is there any update on any of the discussions happening with LNWR branding? And no, and all I'd say is for the foreseeable future, assume nothing will change. Obviously, there's a massive conversation with licensing, and Matt, I think maybe at some point we should crack open a licensing conversation. I think we should just sit down, maybe on the chat stream. We should have a chat about licensing, the ins and outs, how it works. It'll be a fun conversation.
It's a fascinating topic. There's lots of you can't really talk about any specifics in a conversation like that, but the whole process is genuinely fascinating. Just how inconsistent the whole thing is. Every license is different. But no, LNWR, there's no movement on the foreseeable future. My suspicion on that one is it's all pretty much related to a recent government change and their direction for the railway network. As and when it changes, rest assured we're on it every day trying to see what we can do. We're just as keen. As and when it can change, we'll change it.
Good question in the chat. Alex, could you update the East Coast Main Line to King's Cross St Pancras? I personally can't. But
come on, Alex, get on with it.
just a humble community manager. But I don't believe we've got any plans for that. But it is a useful suggestion if you want to throw it in our forums as well.
It's a route I'd love to do. Going King's Cross to Peterborough is a great route. It's a very difficult route to make. Because it's about, I think, 70 miles or something like that, and it's dense Londonness. Lots of stations, lots of busy stuff going on. So that was the reason we focused. One of the reasons we focused on the Peterborough Doncaster end, because it allowed the racetrack element of it, which was what we seem to see people playing an awful lot of. It's not my preferred style of gameplay, but it seems to be what a lot of players really like. So that's where East Coast Main Line is the bit that it was. I'd love to do the other bit, but yeah, it's challenging.
We got a question here. So this is someone who's asking, now that we can enable and disable layers, can we look into allowing the use of enabling and disabling Creators Club liveries being used on AI trains? Something that we're looking at, but we haven't got an update on when we might do this change. So appreciate the feedback. It's useful for us to take that on board.
It's on the list. It's on the list. It's very useful feedback, but no, it's not something we got a date to share on yet.
And now this one. So this was something that came from launch that a lot of people were talking about. And if you are on consoles, specifically PlayStation as well, Downloading Train Sim World 5 can be a bit of a pain, and we know it is, and ultimately it is something that's really hard to avoid. It's just the nature of the fact that we have a lot of DLC and we have a lot of entitlements and we have a lot of links between Train Sim World 3 and Train Sim World 4 and Train Sim World 5 with DLC that have different store pages for every version. Our retail team are amazing. They handle so many different store pages and so many different entitlements. And obviously with the launch this year, the actual act of downloading those can be a complex process. We have got support videos on our YouTube to help that process as much as we can, but there isn't ultimately much we can do. We did try and look at ways around it, but we weren't really fruitful in finding any kind of tangible solution that we can get to the community. So just to say, we hear the pain there. We're trying our best to make sure that the support is very easy to find, where we got FAQs, we've got guides, we've got support videos as well as moderators helping out and share that news. So yeah, appreciate it. It's not easy, but we hear you. You know.
I just asked. Someone's just asked a question. Can you bring back the circular passenger loading animation as an option? So that animation is linked to which type of HUD you've got shown. So it sounds like you've got the barb pole vertical style, which is on the minimal HUD. If you switch to the normal HUD, you should get the old circular one. That's done in the settings under accessibility.
I've seen a lot of people in the chat saying, yeah, you had huge download times as well. The download is another thing. I think it's kind of a little bit independently of, you've got the actual issue of like different complicated ways of needing to actually install the different add-ons, because sometimes, say on PlayStation, when you want to install something, it tries to install all the different entitlements of a version, and then you've actually got the act of downloading. And again, I appreciate it's a pain, but thank you for sticking with it, folks. Yeah, a 300 gig update is sizable. We got a question here that says, any update on save game issues? And I think this relates mostly to not all of the information reloading correctly, and it is on the list that we're looking at and teams are aware of. Thank you for the feedback.
On the list, yeah. Richard, would you bring back the fast camera on console? Yes, it is on my list again. I got a couple on the list, but yes, that one is on the list.
And I think on my list, I've got a couple more, and then we'll go to a few live questions from the chat, and then we'll look to wrap up, folks. But of course, it's been a wonderful night, and appreciate the questions. So we've got someone asking, in a July roadmap on the graphic. So I don't have the July one loaded up, but on the image where all the stuff, all the new add-ons and the list on the right, that image in a July one, we had the Train Sim World 5 content in the 4 to 6 months. And someone's just asking a simple question of, was that a way of including that there without announcing it early? And essentially, yes, it was just a way of us saying, hey, there's a bunch of things coming. We don't want to announce the Train Sim World 5 at this point, so you can expect a UK route, a US route, a German route, a UK train, a German train as well. That was just Train Sim World 5, kind of with a little hood on, just to be like, hey, I'm in this section. But yeah, essentially that was just Train Sim World 5. So pretty simple answer there. And I think we talked about this a little bit before, but I think the community would appreciate hearing it again, Matt. What kind of optimization work is being done currently then? So we're seeing a few different performance issues, especially on consoles. And I think it would be really useful to just talk about like the kind of optimization we're looking to do and some of the ones that we may have already started to do.
Well, it covers across the board. I touched on it earlier on. It's things like where have lights been placed on the route? Have they? Because lighting in Unreal is both very powerful, but it's also, as the saying goes, with great power comes great responsibility. And it's important that lights, for example, when lights overlap, when the cone of the light, if it overlaps, it can cause performance problems with how the light has to be calculated. If lights have got shadow casting turned on, that causes enormous both memory usage and performance issues. So it's kind of like going through and doing a pass over the way lights have been placed and making sure it's an efficient, optimal way of doing it. And we're finding a number of areas of improvement there. Looking at the light bakes and reworking them, so because light bakes can be quite an intensive memory consumer, even though they're very efficient on frame rate, they can consume a lot of memory, because effectively, instead of real-time calculating lights, it does all the calculations and saves it as a load of textures. So then has to load all those textures in. So trying to work out an efficient way of dealing with that. And again, there's been some improvements, some of which we've already got in improving that side of things. Euston Station, for example, when it launched, had both light baked and dynamic lighting in it, which is why it was all blown out and quite slow. So I believe that's been fixed because it doesn't need the dynamic lighting. That's the point of the light bake. So there's a whole a whole swath of work about light baking. There's looking at the assets that have been placed in the route, working out if they're efficient, how many assets have been placed in the route, is there a more efficient way of doing that, and are there areas, like I mentioned with the trees earlier on, where there are excess assets that can just be trimmed back. All those things can cause stuttering and so forth as it's loading, which you can minimize. You can never really get rid of that stuttering, but you can make it significantly less. There's some other areas relating to complex landscape materials which are being looked at to see if they can be made more efficient, and general scripting and core coding in the game to see if there's other stuff that we can add in there. So it's kind of across the board, but we're doing it by looking at specific examples where the frame rate is not where we want it to be, or where problems are being experienced, and then working out what's going on at that time. So we're skilling up the engineering team is skilling up the QA team at the moment to provide them with the tools and the instructions they need so that they can be a bit more self-servicing in terms of understanding some of what's going on, to try and speed the process up, because a lot of the times what happens is engineers have got quite powerful machines and they don't actually see the problem. So you'll get someone in QA seeing an issue and be like, oh, this frame rate is too slow, raise the problem with it. It goes over to engineering, who then can't see the problem, and then it ends up playing ticket tennis for a little bit. And actually, if whereas the QA team could just run some tooling and do a little bit of a few checks, which then make the engineering team just have a look at the outputs of that data. So we're trying to optimize that workflow a bit. That's not been as efficient as I'd like it to be. So we're improving that area as well. So just as I say, it's improvements across the board, from everything from how we do it to specifics down to routes and in the core game.
Brilliant explanation. Thank you, Matt, as well, for that detail. Seen a couple of things I want to answer in the chat really quickly. But first, Richie Rail, I hope you enjoy the karaoke bar. You just mentioned you're going to that pretty soon, so have fun. Now, there was a question from Odin Moore, which was great, and it leads into something that I want to announce as well. Just a small thing, but it will be very fun. So how do you choose the charity you're going to support as a company? Well, actually, internally, we support charities in different ways. We do have a team, usually our people team, but we also have a working group as well that kind of look at charity initiatives we can support. And I believe each year we tend to kind of review a list and we pick some of the ones that we think align with our goals, align with our intention. We do have a voting phase as well. A lot of the time, though, it's if the people are willing to volunteer, if the people are willing to do it, such as Matt looking to do a huge live stream this weekend for special effects, then we get involved. We reach out to the teams, we start talking with them. We've invited them to our offices before. We've had them do company meetings at Dovetail as well. So that's really lovely. And I think a lot of this is building connection with a lot of charity partners across the industry. We're working closely with Calm as well, which is a really important charity. And also, it leads me on to where I want to go next. We're working with Safe in Our World. Kind of as we're industry partners, and they're a mental health charity. Specifically looking at like video game companies. But this Halloween, do you have any plans? Because whether you do or don't, we have a stream that we haven't announced yet. DGG Harry, if you've seen her host some of our streams up until this point, she is planning a very fun live stream event that both me and Matt will be involved in. I am lip sealed. It's not my project to announce, but it will be Harry's.
It's going to be so much fun.
It should be fun. It's something Matt's never done before. It's something that I've only done. It's something I've only done a couple times. But it should be really fun. It should be a night of mystery, of trains, of talking, of camaraderie. There'll be a big group of us, and it will be live on this channel. So that will be our kind of Halloween fun. We'll announce it a bit close to the time, but I thought that's worth doing it, mentioning Safe in Our World, because we're going to be kind of partnering with them. And again, looking to raise some money for a charity that looks to do good around the industry and around the world, because raising money for charity is absolutely wonderful, and when you can donate, it's essentially helping as much as you can. So TSW Escape Room, it isn't an escape room. It will be a live stream format, you know. But we look forward to telling you more about it. And again, it will be something that Harry has put so much time into. It's absolutely incredible. So I look forward to her telling you more about what we've got planned. And that's through my list of questions on my sheet. So I know we've been answering questions throughout tonight. We'll have a few more minutes, just a couple more minutes now of looking at the chat, answering some questions we have coming up. Again, we're trying to be as communicative as we can. If we don't answer everything tonight, which is impossible, we'll go to our forums tomorrow morning. We'll go throughout the week. We're active in our community spaces on our Discord with our moderators on Reddit through our ambassadors. Many different channels you can contact our team. If you need support, reach out to us or submit support tickets or ask for help on the forums. We have a fantastic community. We're here to help, but we're here to talk. So let's look at some of the questions in the chat and we'll answer what we can. Again, anything that's not announced, we probably will ignore. So I'll happily read the question, but most of the questions for anything related to unannounced content will just be no plans from me. So let's do it.
Someone was asking earlier on about a bug where when you try and add a go via, it freezes the game. That one is on engineering's look list for this week. So hopefully a fix very soon for that.
Have you got an update on Z Fighting on Xbox, Matt?
No, I don't. Essentially, everything going forward should have Z Fighting not happening on it, although I'm aware some of TSW5 content does have it. So I'll get the team to go back and revise that stuff. Revising it on all historic content is probably not going to happen. It's a per Z Fighting issue fix, unfortunately. There's no silver bullet for that one. So that one is... but no, the team's briefing is that we should be making sure that we know what to do to prevent it. So it's about making sure it doesn't happen again. And it's how the content is created.
We've got a question of when the next roadmap is. I believe November 7th. We'll announce that a little bit closer to the time, but I think it's planned. It's usually the first week of any month. It depends on team availability. I might be away on November 5th, so November 7th. I'll confirm that close to the time.
Posted says, when's the photo gallery bug being fixed? I assume you mean the bug where when you select what to delete a picture, it deletes a completely different picture, which doesn't sound like it's a pain at all, to be fair. I can't imagine why. Yeah, that is again, I think that's on this week's engineering list.
Can you announce what you had for dinner tonight? Nothing yet. Chicken. Oh, nice. I'm still waiting for my dinner. But I'll work on that update after this. Just looking through questions. Will there be the F59PH on the VC line? I don't really know what that refers to unless you do, Matt. And sounds like a don't answer kind of question.
Sorry, what was the question?
Will there be F59 PHR on VC line?
VC. So if you mean the MBTA F59 PHR, no, the stock that's in Boston Worcester is the HSP 46 and the F40. Is it F40? I think it's the F40 with the singles and the double decker coaches. That's what's included in the pack.
Thank you, Matt.
Oh, VC, that's Ventura County, isn't it? You mean Metrolink? No, we don't have a Ventura County line, and we've got no plans to make a Ventura County line. Figuring everyone kind of, as much as Metrolink are fabulous, figuring people would like a break from Metrolink for 5 minutes.
Thomas, Steph, we've not announced anything new with Ludwigsbahn, the Pfälzische Ludwigsbahn routes. In the roadmap, we kind of just re-summarized what we'd already announced from Train 5 launch, but when it's close to the time, we'll talk a little bit more about that. Any updates for the San Bernardino line freight service layers on weekend services for Series S? So
looking into that, that's supposed to already be available. So I'm looking into finding out why that isn't the case, and we'll issue a fix as needed for that one.
Thank you, SM Rail. Yeah, San Bernardino line was one of the ones on Series S that didn't launch with all the initial layers, but we should have released all of those layers now for you to.
They're all supposed to be there now, but it does seem like some of the weekend timetables not showing up. So we're looking into why that is.
Have we got an update
when
on
will the BCC guard mode patch arrive? So we're looking into what's wrong with it. So there's been a bunch of fixes for it internally. I can confirm on our development branch it now works, but it's not working in shipping builds properly at the moment. So hopefully soon
Yeah, if you are coming from the Discord or some of the community spaces, I talked a little bit about there being some improvements for the BCC guard mode or conductor mode in that. But again, I'm still reviewing the patch notes, and I believe we're still working on that one. So we'll announce more when it's
Morgan,
ready.
was there an update on the 350 suspension? Yes, there was an update on it. Essentially, it's coming. It's in progress at the moment.
Have we got an update on guard mode for the 390, Matt?
I need to check in because you can do it if you start it from within the 390 rather than it just doesn't offer it up in the menu. I'll have to go and find out from the team if they figured out why it's not showing up in the menu.
Thank you. I'm just checking through some more questions. Appreciate everyone asking questions. We're here to answer them. When's the next sale? We can't announce sales ahead of the time. It breaks NDA. Well, it breaks some kind of clause, but you tend not to be able to announce them ahead of time.
No. Several people have asked where I got my headphones from. Amazon. Where do you get everything electronic from these days?
You could probably buy it from the Razer store, but I reckon it's just more expensive there. So
I don't know. Amazon's not necessarily cheap. Well, it probably is at the moment. They're having some sort of a sale on.
when aren't they? Odin Moore, is the new UK route 100 miles now the longest? So this being the Just Trains West Coast Main Line Preston to Carlisle route, that is not released yet. It's coming in the future. It will be just over 100 miles, I believe, from what they've told us. And so that will be the longest UK route, but it isn't out yet.
It's the longest UK route and one of the longest routes. It's not the longest route in the game, but it's like the second or third longest route in the game. So it's the longest UK route. It's really tremendous game.
Paul Wilkinson, any news on blurry textures on consoles? We did talk about some of the texture issues on consoles. It's one of the top priorities on our list to try and fix. Any update on the Peak Forest expansion pack? So this is the Simtrack Studios, the BR104 Peak Forest expansion pack. We've not had any more news to share on this, so development will continue. We'll let you know when and if there's any changes via roadmaps. But if there's nothing in a roadmap or if there's nothing on our list that we go through, just assume things are ticking along. I know someone was asking about the Cone Archon timetable as well, the improvements there as well. Again, another thing that is just kind of ticking along in the background. That's still, there is development happening. But if there's a period where we don't have it in a roadmap, just assume that there's nothing new to share just yet.
Anna Castaigne, Johnny, you've got updates on the API. To be honest, we're prioritizing crashes and performance issues before we get back to the API. But there has been a little bit of progress on the API. At this point, it's kind of done. It's really just awaiting some documentation and finalizing the testing on it. So hopefully not long, but we need to prioritize things that are causing actual problems first.
Toasted Dual Explainer, yes. Jeremy, why will the physical version on TSW5 on the PS5 release much later than previous TSW games? I believe, and I may be wrong here without checking with the retail teams, but I believe that's just how we work with distributors for box editions.
The last year released quite a long way after TSW Digital Edition, I think the box. We don't, you can play, the problem is the lead times on retail. So in order to get that content onto the disc and then get that disc mass produced and inside boxes which are mass produced and sealed and sent out to everyone, you have to finish the game 3-4 months earlier to be able to hit the same date. That would mean less content in the box. That would mean less features in the box. So what we've been doing lately is finish for the digital release and then use the digital release to make the retail one. The other thing you end up doing, and we've done in the past, and no one ever feels good about it, is you carry on updating, and then the first thing that happens after you put the disc in your console is a 20 gig update before you can play the game. Doing it this way round means a bit of a wait, but it means that it hasn't got that big update. The disc is kind of mastered based on the released version. There'll be small update because obviously we're putting patches out. Yeah, it's done this way round to try and give us the maximum time for the initial release and then get a more solid retail release afterwards. But I think this does kind of line up roughly with how it was last year.
Teo, appreciate. I know we're getting a lot of questions here. We're trying to answer as many as we can. Virtual reality updates. So I'm going to assume here you mean TSW VR, which was an announcement we made with Dovetail Direct, and that is the first VR game we're making with Train Sim World. It's not It's not with Train Sim World specifically or Train Sim World 4 or 5 specifically. It is its own game. It's like Train Sim World VR New York. In terms of any update that's still coming along, I believe you can wishlist now. We'll share more news when we're a bit closer to time. We'll share more content, hopefully soon. But as an update, it's still in progress. We'll let you know very shortly. And Beetlejuice, we have talked about blurred texture on consoles. Again, it's a top priority we're looking at. Hopefully we'll have some kind of improvement that we can share at some point.
We watch the stream Beetlejuice, you'll get the answer to that question. We've answered it twice so far, and it's rather than bore everyone with the same answer again.
Yeah. I think there are a couple of repeated questions, folks. I know there's some questions we haven't answered. There are some that we won't have answers for. But again, feel free to go to the roadmap Q&A thread, which I'll throw a link for in the chat. Anything that you feel you want an answer for from our teams, you can ask us in this thread, and tomorrow morning I'll do a bit of a sweep and try and answer as many as I can. And also just join in on the community spaces. But that will pretty much do us for tonight. I'm going to go back to our roadmap graphic and just show it one last time. This has been the Train Sim World 5 October 2024 roadmap. And there is lots of things here to be excited about, especially with MBTA Commuter coming later this month on October 29th. I know someone was asking when we can see a preview for that. Well, if it's coming out on October 29th, probably about a week or so before that. So that's very soon, maybe a couple of weeks from now, and you'll start to see more information later in this week as well. So that's really exciting. There's other new announcements, especially the Manchester Airport Commuter route, which we talked about. You can check out our roadmap article. If you want some written information, you can rewatch the stream on our YouTube channel if you want more from there. One thing I want to call back to as well is the free starter pack. Yes, we talked about this at the start.
Graphic.
Yes. It's so good. You got to pick this up.
Tell the creative team that you're coming after their jobs.
It's yeah. This is the small edit I did. So it's yours to keep, but it lasts longer than expected. So it will now last until the new year. And then we'll continue to review anything more with the free starter pack. But we've seen so many people come in. Very professional indeed. Yes, it's a very professional edit. But ultimately, the free starter pack is amazing. It's yours to keep forever. It is not time limited. It is claim now, claim while you can, keep it forever. Tell all your friends. You may as well add it to your account. You may as well just go click add to library and just leave it there if you don't want to download it yet. You may as well get it. It's a free thing. But we've talked a lot about that at the start. We've talked a lot tonight. We hope you've had fun. We hope you've had some useful dev insights. And we're here every month to join you for the Train Sim World journey and give you updates, give you new announcements. And I think we've done a really good job. I think, Matt, we've had a wonderful evening.
Yeah, I think it's been great. It's been some good updates. Thank you everyone in the chat. It's been good fun.
And thank you for all joining us as well. Again, this has been a really great journey from the release of Train Sim World 5 about a month ago now. I say about a month ago, it's actually about 2 weeks ago, but my distortion of time gets more and more weird the later the night goes. So I think we'll leave it there, folks. I've had a really wonderful stream. I hope you have too, but have a good evening or have a good morning wherever you are in the world. And we'll catch you in the community. We'll be active. We'll be answering your questions. So I'll see you there. And for now, good night. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.